Welcome to the Hemlock State Explorer. Today we're in Potter County at the ruins of the Austin Dam, Pennsylvania's second worst dam disaster. This site is now a memorial park, and you can see there's a pavilion and a souvenir shop and visitor center. I imagine this is the kind of place that hosts field trips to learn the lessons of local history. There's actually also a small private campground behind us in the stream valley, but let's take a closer look at those ruins. We'll head over to the right to take a look at those massive concrete chunks that were displaced by the flood. Near the entrance, maybe 50 yards behind us, we saw refrigerator-sized chunks of the dam. This is the spot where the catastrophic break first occurred. Right over here you can see Freeman Run. It looks peaceful and slow moving now. Let's go over here to the water. We'll take a look up through, there's Freeman Run as it flows through the remains of the dam. And when the dam broke, this section just swung open like a door, as you'll see. Come up around this massive chunk of concrete. You can see the aggregate in it as we turn the corner. Look at that twisted metal sticking out of the ruins of the dam. And we'll walk around the front side of the dam so you can get a view of this massive structure. And there's a path we'll take back through one of the crevices in the dam, and then you'll get to see the back side. There's fascinating history behind this terrible disaster. The town of Austin grew up in the 1880s around the lumber industry. The virgin hemlock forests supplied sawmills and tanneries, fueling the economic boom. Austin's sawmills were among the largest in the world at the time, earning the town the nickname Hemlock City. And here we'll go through the crevice and see the backside. So to continue our story, by the early 1900s, however, the old-growth forest dwindled and the region suffered decline. The businessman George Bayless was persuaded to build a pulp and paper mill. The Austin Dam, also known as the Bayless Dam, was built in 1909 to provide a reliable water source necessary for the operation of the pulp and paper mill. The structure was a concrete gravity dam, meaning that it runs in a straight line and holds the force of the water back by its own weight, that is, the weight of the dam. At the time it was built, it was the largest dam of its kind in Pennsylvania, being 50 feet high and approximately 540 feet long, and impounded over 200 million gallons of water. However, the dam was poorly constructed with important safety features omitted, such as a cutoff wall to prevent seepage underneath the dam, creating uplift pressure. And there was trouble from the beginning. Visible cracks appeared shortly after the dam was completed in December of 1909 due to improper curing of the concrete. Bayless reassured the residents of Austin, who relied on the paper mill for their livelihoods, that they had built, quote, the dam that could not break, end quote. Although some residents were vocal in opposition to the dam, the danger was downplayed because the town's livelihood depended on the pulp and paper mill. In a desperate attempt to relieve the pressure of the water against the dam, dynamite was used to blast a notch in the crest and also to blow off the cap of the draw-off pipe, allowing the reservoir to be drained. But with disaster narrowly averted, minimal repairs were made, and the dam was returned to service. In mid-September 1911, heavy rains filled the reservoir to within inches of the spillway crest. This was the fullest the reservoir had been since the near disaster in January of 1910. Then on September 30th, 1911, at about 2:29 p.m., the dam suffered catastrophic failure and split open. The section we first viewed swung open like a door, releasing the deadly torrent into the Freeman Valley. Cora Brooks, who ran a brothel on the hill near the dam, acted quickly to telephone the switchboard operators in town about a mile away. And there's a sign in the memorial park where you can read her story. The alarm was sounded. One of the operators ran to the streets to shout that the dam had broken, while the other operator called to warn everyone she could. The residents of Austin desperately fled up the sides of the hill out of the valley. As the raging wave rushed through the Freeman Valley, it swept up logs and piles of pulpwood from the pulp and paper mill, turning them into deadly projectiles. The flood destroyed the mill and obliterated the town. The disaster was compounded when ruptured gas mains erupted in flames, spreading fire through the wreckage. Of the approximately 2,500 residents of Austin, at least 78 were killed in the disaster. In 1994, the Austin Dam Memorial Association was formed to create this park as a memorial to the terrible disaster. To learn more, and for a guide to visiting the Austin Dam ruins yourself, visit hemlockstateexplorer.com. And until next time, we can't wait to see you on the next adventure.